you tell I'm in denial?
You can't stay at the top forever.
I was also very surprised when I looked at my phone and saw Joe Girardi dismissed.
Well, I think mine were with common sense.
I think now belongs in the all-time greats top 10.
Boston, I really think only got to this point because of a guy named Chris Middleton being out for the Bucks.
That power play just was unbearable. It was humming.
Man, am I happy. I knew that this was going to happen. I knew he was going to come back.
When I think of New York Yankees now is Judge, probably people in the past when Jeter was coming up.
I would be shocked. A little bit hurt.
Hey, this is Greg Tepper of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, TexasFootball.com, and Valley Sports Southwest. You are listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NBA Opinions of the Week. I'm Kevin, and I'm joined by the man Austin, who I'm sure shares a similar viewpoint. May not be the same viewpoint, but Austin, the Cavs were the best team in the regular season, and they did not make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. They only won one game in the second round.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, and we'll have a different video about the Pacers in their season and talking about the Eastern Conference Final and all that in good time. But wow, the Cavs really struggled. I'm pretty shocked that they went down in 5. I'm not as shocked that they lost the series because the Pacers are good, but I expected them to win. They're a team that was pretty revolutionary in the regular season because they were not expected to be this good, and they had a great team atmosphere and were playing really well. But I think that people don't give enough credit to the 14-15 Hawks. People always say, oh, this is the 14-15 Hawks. That Hawks team went to the conference finals and lost to LeBron. A LeBron that had won the East. At that point, that was his 5th straight year, but he won it 8 straight years. So that Hawks team losing in the Eastern Conference Final, even if it was a sweep, I don't think is too disappointing. Right? If this Cavs team had got swept in the conference final, I wouldn't think it'd be too disappointing, even though you don't want to get swept, right? But you made it to the conference final, and you don't have that much playoff experience outside of Donovan Mitchell. So I don't think it would have been too bad. But if you look back at the Hawks, they did make it that far, so I don't really see it as like this. This is bad. You lost to a team, a 5 seed, that you had significant advantage in terms of guys that I thought were really good, but Rick Carlisle and Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam and everybody, Andrew Nembhard played amazing. It was just a lot of Aaron Nesmith. And Donovan Mitchell had 2 bad games to end the series, but was amazing those first 3 and still was down 2-1 after those. So I am wondering where do we go from here. But I still think the Cavs are young enough and they have enough pieces that this isn't like the end of the Cavs being good or anything, but you do have some serious questions that you have to ask yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And kind of talking about LeBron and that 14-15 Hawks team, I think you can view sort of that with kind of the Celtics, even though the Celtics are not playing well. Of course, Jason Tatum is injured. But kind of we both talked about it wouldn't be disappointing if they lost to the Celtics just because they are such that great of a team. And you can both things can be true. Yes, this is a great building point for the Cavs, but it is disappointing, I would say, to lose to the Pacers. There were moments where the Pacers were just blowing out the Cavs, especially defensively. The Cavs were renowned for their defense and kind of having Mobley and Jared Allen together, but the Pacers offense was just able to overcome that. And they do have great players, but it kind of is they focused on defense and it just didn't work out. And I don't think there was a problem with Donovan Mitchell. It was really the other team around him, which can go to the playoff experience. So I don't think this means blow it up, but it does seem I'm not sure where you go from here because of just kind of how bad it feels of you were the number 1 team. You were a better team than the Celtics in the regular season, but you just couldn't put it together in the playoffs. And I would have viewed it as a disappointment. Even if they got swept, if it was to the Knicks, I'd go, okay, how did you not win one game? And I don't know if the Pacers This way, it's disappointing. But if it went to a game 7, because you have the injuries as well, but just even when they got guys back, they did not do well. And I think the Pacers at one point had a 40-point halftime lead in one of the games.
Yeah, I think that was game 4. I think. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Because they came back in game 5. They were down. The Pacers were a good bit and came back and won that game.
Yeah, so that's kind of it's just I don't know how else you can say it, but it is disappointing given I don't know if they really put up much of a fight in some of the games.
Yeah. And I besides Mitchell, it really did look. Well, I think what really told this series is in game 2, a game that they needed to win. The Cavs. You can lose one at home during that first couple, but I do think that from what was happening, them having no Garland, no Hunter, no Mobley for game 2, whether they could have played or not, I don't know, and I'm not going to make any assumptions. But if there's any chance you can go, you have to go in that game, and that ended up being a major reason why they lost because they couldn't win in game 2. They win game 2, they're still alive in the series, and they have a chance moving forward, and maybe they have a better morale going into game 5. But I still think this Cavs team will be back because Mitchell is a great playoff riser. He plays amazing in the playoffs, and these first 3 games of this series, he played really well.
Yeah, and kind of talking about that with that game 2 and just how that went. Even if you go down 2-0, especially at home, I think it is tough, but it's not hard to come back from. However, it does put pressure on you, and with a team that lacks playoff experience, it makes it even harder to come back.
True, but the injuries didn't help, and Kenny Atkinson has some experience as a good head coach and with the Nets and everything that happened there, but I think he lost his own. I think he was the head coach when D'Lo was there, and they lost to the 76ers in the first round. So he has experience in the playoffs, but just not a lot. And that's true for a lot of this team. Mobley, Jarrett Allen has some experience, like Garland, and then we're in the playoffs last year, so they have some, but they still have to get better and continue to improve as a team.
Yeah, and I would say last year was disappointing for the Cavs as well. But it was kind of their first time, and they got a new head coach. And yeah, I think you can be disappointed, but also impressed with the Pacers. Disappointing with how the Cavs played, but impressed with the Pacers. As you brought up coaching, Rick Carlisle seems to have found. It seems like it was just a good change of scenery from him, from the Mavericks to the Pacers. Just kind of how far he's gone in the playoffs with the Pacers compared to that Mavs team.
Yeah, I have an interesting Mavs question to ask you. Someone told me, or at least this is their opinion, that the end, like the beginning of the end of what happened with the Mavs was firing Rick Carlisle. Do you believe in that or no? Do you think that was a sign of what happened or no?
No, I think the firing of Rick Carlisle was it just had to happen. I think they were at a crossroads.
Even though he's found abundant success in Indiana, you don't think that was a part of the problem?
I don't think it was part of a problem.
Okay. Because now he's made as many Eastern Conference Finals as the Mavs had without him. So the Mavs went to 2, one in 22 and one in 24 last year with Jason Kidd. But now they've been back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals. We don't know if they're going to make the finals or not. We'll have to wait and see. But both sides, I feel like, have had abundant success. Obviously, we know what happened with the Mavs. Yes. But based on what they did with Luka without Rick Carlisle, they had a lot of success. But Rick Carlisle was hired immediately afterwards, went to a team that had not made the playoffs in a while, and has been very, very competent as their head coach.
Yeah, I think it was just good for both sides. I would have liked a different coach than Jason Kidd, but you can't argue with the results. And now, to me, it gets difficult to judge it because what are the Mavs going to be like? Because they have a better chance of going back to the Western Conference Finals, I would say. They're most likely going to draft Cooper Flagg, which I think that they are going to draft Cooper Flagg, and just kind of how that team is built. But it's different roster, and I'm curious. I'm not really into, or I don't really understand the tape, but I'm wondering how different is Halliburton and Luka and just kind of like how has Carlisle tackled that? Because that was kind of like his thing with.
Look, it's hard to say they're similar because Halliburton's not as good of a scorer. I'd say that Halliburton's a better passer, but they're different players. But they both play really well in the playoffs, and Halliburton's been amazing these playoffs. And I think Rick Carlisle's he's definitely a really good head coach, and I think that the Pacers have definitely benefited from having him.
Yeah, and I bring that up just sort of how do they run the offense, because as it was told with 2011, Jason Kidd and Rick Carlisle and Rajon Rondo, I think, had a lot of, it wasn't in 2011, but there was a lot of disagreement between Rick Carlisle and his point guard.
I think that was 14-15.
14-15? Yeah.
That was 13-14 or 14-15, but I think it's 14-15.
But yeah. Well, yeah. So I brought up Jason Kidd because I think in 2011 there were some disagreements, but they, of course, figured it out. And then 14-15 was Rondo and Carlisle.
Yeah, but going back to the Cavs, kind of in this thoughts, this was a disappointing year. Do you think that they can make it back to at least the second round next season?
I think they can. It's just how well do they perform in the second round? That's my question.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know if they're going to make it past. I think this is a necessary step to success because this is their first time in the second round. So it's important to actually... They didn't make it out of the second round into the second round last year, did they?
Who would they have played? Did they play the Knicks?
They played the Knicks. I don't think it was last year they played the Knicks. I think it was the year before that.
So it'd be 20. So they played. I think they.
There you go. Last year they beat
the Magic
in 7. Okay, so yeah, this is. And last year they lost in 5 to the Celtics. So it's kind of a stagnant year. They got back to the same point. To really show any improvement, though, you have to make a conference finals with.
I'm also just wondering, can you win multiple games in the second round?
Well, I don't know if losing in 6 or 7 is any show of improvement. I mean, we've seen the 76ers losing 5, 6, 7 all in the second round, but I don't think that they think that they've developed any when it comes to playoffs. So I think you have to get to the conference finals to show that you've actually gotten over this hump.
Yeah, that's a great point. And yeah, I'm very interested to see how they do, and we'll keep you updated on that. But yeah, we both agree it's a disappointment. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We appreciate you listening to Outsiders Opinions.